Hey, welcome back to the Tango Simplified Learning Series. I'm Elizaveta. Today we're launching into part 2 of the Miguel Caló series that I'm doing this month, where we're exploring the style of salon tango, dancing to salon style tango music, through the music of Miguel Caló. So today we are going to be talking about the idea of tone, using tone to change your movement to match the style of the music. As I mentioned in the last lesson, the main difference between salon style music and what came before it, milonguero style, guardia vieja style, is that those early styles of music focus very much on the rhythm, the compás. So you as a dancer, as long as you are going with the rhythm, you might be going with the slow rhythm, which is marcato in 2. You might be going with the fast rhythm, which is marcato in 4. You're stepping on every beat. But as long as you're doing that, you will be very musical and you'll be connected to the musical structure through the rhythm. But with salon style music, if you just dance the rhythm, the expression of the music, it does not match just the rhythm. There's a lot more going on. In fact, when I think of salon style music and the movement that you do in terms of how you change your texture, it's like, imagine a ribbon or a piece of fabric moving through water, that there's always a continuous gliding flow, but sometimes that flow gets interrupted with more sharp accents. And there's a lot of variety. Even though there is still a beat, the structure of the tango has to have a beat for us dancers to be able to dance it. So the salon style composers and arrangers, they were sort of pushing the limits of what's possible to do within the structure, the constraints of a tango song. They begin to play with the layers and provide us with different types of musical ideas. I'm going to give you a little demo of what it looks like when I move to something with texture versus without to a particular song by Caló.
Ruedas que rechinan con la angustia del adiós y ella, mi muñeca que se ahoga con su tos, se baila mi pobre novia enferma, mi corazón se muere de la luz, qué ganas de arrastrarme hasta sus brazos y llorar, qué ganas de gritar lo que pareció. Esperanza de volver y tengo que esconder tanto tormento, es que tengo miedo, ojos se van volviendo a suspirar, sin mi locura pensaba maldecir y si así su piel morir.
So when we first start learning tango, we learn to step on the beat and we learn to do the quick, quick, slow, and we learn to time our steps to make sure that we're synchronized with our partners. But now we want to be able to change the texture inside of those steps. And that part of the exploration of musicality requires you to be able to understand how to change your tone. So within the structure of tango, let's say a pattern such as back, side, forward, a very common pattern that you might do as a follower, even as a leader, you might say, okay, I'm going on the slow beat and I'm stepping in this pattern, but now I'm going to step as if I'm stepping on glass. And I'm trying not to break the glass, because if I move the wrong way, I'm going to fall through and everything's going to collapse. So you would change your movement as if you are walking on something very fragile. But then you might say, okay, well now I'm going to walk as if I'm a giant. and my steps are just pounding into the earth with a ton of weight, right? And it's like just doing that little exercise, you saw how my body moved differently. So I'm doing the same pattern, I might be doing the same steps, but the actual texture inside is different. Now I'm going to use some musical terminology here. We're going to divide all of the movement that's possible in our bodies between the category of staccato, which is a musical term for very sharp, accented sounds, and legato, which means kind of a long, flowy type of gesture or movement or sound, but we're kind of using these terms for the movement. And so your movement, when you're dancing to this kind of music, Miguel Caló and orchestras like them, you will move through movements that will be very staccato and very sharp, and movements that will be very legato and flowy. And within those movements, you will notice your body reacts differently. When you're going into staccato, there will be more of a contraction energy around your joints. And when you're moving into more something flowy, then there's more of a relaxation around your joints. Now, one thing to note is that when we're talking about sharp movement or flowy movement, don't just think about the act of moving having that quality, but also include the question of the beginning of the movement. And that moment when you decide to move, you can play with either something that's very legato or something that's very staccato, right? So you can feel those intentions inside the music, and you as a dancer can then begin to express those inside your dance. Now, shifting from staccato to legato, from quick timing to slow timing, is ultimately up to you, the dancer. This is where tango is very liberating because there's many, many ways you can interpret it. However, with salon style music, a lot of it is strongly recommended. There are parts of the song that are arranged in such a way that are really driving you to hear something very specific. And so today I want to show you a song that is divided with phrases clearly showing you staccato and then clearly showing you legato. And you will see in my own movement that I'm moving from staccato type of feel and texture to more legato. Now, not all orchestras give you that kind of arrangement. However, you'll notice that every arrangement of every orchestra has some sort of exploration of that idea, that if you have a brief section of all the violins going together and everything flowing all together, it will be followed by something that's a contrast. And remember, what we want to see on the dance floor when we're seeing dancers dancing these songs is we want to see contrast. So staccato quality versus legato quality is a way for you to show that you actually know the song. So check out this example that I'm going to show you now and see how my body is changing from staccato to legato qualities to match the song.
Ya sale el tren, el humo pinta el cielo y en el andén aquí con mi pañuelo.
All right, so the really good news about this particular aspect of musicality in tango is that it doesn't require you to learn any new vocabulary or any new mechanics, really. It's just a way of manipulating the vocabulary that you already know. So if you really break down my own demo that I'm doing, you'll see that I'm doing movements that are very, very basic. I'm not leading things that are too complicated. I do have some flashy moves included, but they're not really my bread and butter. My bread and butter is always those very simple shapes that we learn in our foundations, ocho cortado, turns, and then I just begin to change the volume and the texture inside of those shapes to find a closer rendition of what I'm hearing. Now, of course, this requires that you know the song, and that's where salon style stands out as well, because if you're dancing to something like milonguero style or guardia vieja style, there's not a lot of variety in the songs themselves. So as long as you get the beat, you can just dance to any of these songs, and you don't necessarily even need to know them because their structure is very predictable and it's very safe. But as we get into salon style, as I said, the arrangements are more complex, the musicians are pushing the boundaries. So you kind of have to know the song in order to be able to show the contrast between this legato section versus a staccato section, because you know it's coming. Okay, so what do you do to get to know the music to that level? Because ultimately, if you want to dance like that, if you want to get to that level of musicality, it has to be in your body. So if you do want to know that music, you have to listen to it. You just have to listen to it, okay? It's not enough to listen to it at the milonga, okay? Dive into the music itself and listen to it over and over again, especially the songs that you really like. Don't listen to things that are not pleasant, but the songs that you really like, listen to them over and over again. So if you haven't gotten a chance to hear the Miguel Caló's playlist that I created, Best of Caló, on Spotify, the link is in the show notes. You can check it out. And just like I did in this little demo that I just showed you, play with it on your own. You don't have to have a partner. Just put on a song and start moving to it and listen for those changes of quality in the phrasing, and maybe even make a video of yourself and watch it a few days later and assess, right? Like this can be a really fun and maybe scary process to go through, but it's really worth it. And if you want support, this is what we do in my online program. You can actually send in videos of yourself dancing once a month, and I give you critique through video. So if you're interested in something like that, you can check out my program. The link is in the show notes. You get 30 days free. So give it a look and see if it's right for you. Okay, so next week we are going to be looking at using different parts of the layers of the songs to express in your movement, and how to actually separate the phrases in your dance through pausing on different sections. So I hope you are subscribed and you'll join me next week on Saturday. Until then, ciao.